Hello everybody, Huckrex here, and welcome to another Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere, episode 363. 363 episodes. Yep, it's been a long time. Today we're going to be talking about the Badger Track Transport from the Wolf Dragoons. The 30-ton vehicle. It's a 6'9" moving vehicle. So it's kind of gets up a little bit. It's very similar to the Galleon when it comes to size, movement, everything. So it's almost like a Wolf Dragoon version of it. So, like I said, it's a 6'9". Has 10 heat sinks because it has a fusion engine on it. It comes with 5 tons of armor, standard, so 80 points. So this has been around since the Wolf Dragoons came into the Inner Sphere. So by the time the clan invasion happened, it's been around pretty much about 40 years. So it's got a lot of uses from, and it's been produced by the Blackwell Corporation. All right, so the interesting thing, it does have a 4-ton infantry bay, so it can carry around a infantry platoon or a jump platoon. So get them up there a lot faster than if they were walking everywhere. And then with 10 heat sinks and 5 tons of pod space, yes, you heard that right. It's an Omni transport that the Wolf Dragoons brought with them. So not very often you're going to see that kind of thing in the Inner Sphere before the clans show up, showing off all their Omni technology. But this is on a vehicle. So you have a few different designs with this that give you some different kinds of capabilities, but the primary configuration of the Badger has 3 medium lasers and an SRM-2 with 1 ton of ammunition. So with 3 medium lasers, you're able to, like during the Succession Wars, having 3 medium lasers on a vehicle would be kind of nice, considering that most of the ranges typically, the longest range weapons you're going to have is an LRM, and then you got a PPC coming in at 18. So if you got a fairly fast moving vehicle, 6'9" is pretty good in the Succession Wars. So it's nothing to sneeze at. And you're capable of doing some damage up to 15. And if you're running a 4 of these in a lance with their infantry cohorts running around with them, you got some firepower that's pretty localized. Yeah, it's like a small little bubble, but if you're parked on top of an objective, it's forced them to either stay off a distance or face the wrath of all the little plinker weapons, or close in if you do have some anti-infantry weapons, and then you're going to be facing off against, everything else. So, yeah, it works in the Succession Wars when it comes to that. Now, primary, it's like if you can afford it, to bring in some jump infantry, a little bit more mobile for your squad, because, you got 4 tons of infantry bay that you can use for hauling around, straight leg or jump infantry. So yeah, if you can afford the jump infantry, throw them in there. That's a little bit more mobile for that matter. So there. Now, obviously there's a few other configurations with it, but if you work these in conjunction with some mechs, you're not going to just run your combined arms infantry vehicles without a little bit of mech support. And in that case, those mechs might be the ones doing the primary work, and then the transports will be backing them up, and then your infantry are parked on the objective and say, hey, come knock us off, type of deal. So it works pretty decent. And you're not going to be wrapping up a lot of points in the infantry alone, because they're fairly cheap. That's the nice thing about infantry. Now, let's say there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different configurations. We can go over here real quick. Configuration A. Now, this is the interesting well, one thing I'd like to say is it's got 549 battle value. All right. And what I would primarily do with the SRM2 is run Infernos with it. You got the medium lasers for doing some damage, and then run the Infernos for either cooking infantry, starting fires, heating up enemy mechs, or hitting vehicles with, and then doing crits on them with the heat. So, yeah, because vehicles can't handle that. So there is something to go with that, all right, in your primary configuration. Now, configuration A, this one has 4 SRM2s, and so I think, yeah, it only has 1 ton of ammunition. So yes, in this case, if you only got 1 ton of ammunition, you are stuck pretty much using damage output style weapons. Now, if it had 3 SRMs and then you had 2 tons of ammunition, you might consider going with, since it's an Omni type modular system, you could go that route too, and then have 1 ton standard, 1 ton Inferno, give you some capabilities to heat things up, cook things, or just do damage. But in this configuration A that they primarily have together, yeah, you run damage output with your 4 SRMs. Yeah, there's not a lot of damage just for 1 vehicle, but you're not going to be working in by themselves, because you're typically going to have a lance of these, because you're probably going to try to run a company equivalent of combined arms, and then you may have another lance of other vehicles running with these guys that can do some long range support and some short range support also, to go work in conjunction. So you're not going to, it's not running by itself. And this comes in at 437 battle value, so that ain't bad. And, you know, with 4 SRMs, you typically, if all 4 hit, you're going to be roughly, probably 5 SRMs are going to hit of the 8 potential. Usually it's about 5 on an average, because you're going to do 1, 1, 1, maybe a 2 somewhere in there. And you may even get lucky to get all 8, but, you know, typically just count on 4 or 5. So, and if you're running a whole lance of these guys, yeah, that adds up. There's going to be some damage on somebody, and if they get some holes knocked in them with some other mechs or support lance of heavier vehicles, armor, yeah, then you're crit hunting with them. So there is usefulness with that one. All right, configuration B. This one is armed with a pair of SRM4s, and they share ammunition once again. That seems to be the thing with it. And once again, you're probably going to be running 5 or maybe 6 on an average hits if you have both launchers hit. And if you're running in a lance of these things, you may be having one of these configured like that, or you may have another one configured, you know, maybe a couple primes, maybe an A, you know. But with the 2 SRM4s, yeah, you can do a little bit of damage with them at 431 battle value. Configuration C. Now, this one carries 2 LRM-5 launchers and 1 turret, and they do share a single load of ammunition. It comes in at 450 battle value. It just kind of shows you the longer range weapons you have on something, the more costly it's going to be when it comes to battle value. It just shows you got 2 LRM-5s. The output of damage is probably less than the SRM-2 launchers, but the range makes up the difference when it comes to cost. But in this one, you are looking at something that can sit back and do a little bit of harassment fire, or even maybe configure it, run it with a ton of thunder ammunition, laying down minefield. You know, there's many ways of trying to think about what you could do, or smoke for that matter, laying down a few long-range smoke hexes or areas, and then basically kind of hindering the enemy until they can close. Because if you're all running shorter range stuff with most of your equipment, keeping them from hitting you is probably in your best benefit type of thing. Now, configuration D. Now, this is a mixed one with like when you got D and So it has 3 medium lasers and a pair of small lasers. This comes in at 540 battle value. You're pumping out a little bit more damage possible. But, the small lasers can help a little bit, but then you're looking at, I'd rather go with the prime configuration and run some Infernal instead. That might be how I always look at it. But yeah, you got 3 medium lasers and a couple of smalls. Your damage output is increased to some extent. And you're able to, if you can get behind something like a mech or something or another vehicle, yeah, you can pump some damage into the rear arc and maybe punch holes into their engine or their little juicy parts, and well, they're not going to be happy with you. So there's that one. That's configuration D. Now configuration E, all right, this one has small lasers. It has 6 mounted in the turret and a single laser on each side, and 1 forward and 1 aft. So it has 10 small lasers. Yeah, you can get 9 of those to the front and then 1 to the rear. It comes in at 434 battle value. Now, if you get that thing into someone's rear arc, all those little 3-point shots, and if they hit, then they're not going to like you. So you can do up to 27 points of damage with it. The odds of hitting are, probably a little decreased due to the short range. Most of the time you might be shooting at long and medium range. But if you can get into the rear arc, hey, you can do some good damage on somebody and probably strip their armor off and then start doing crits. And if somebody has say a mech that has a lot of the armor already blown off and got holes in it, this thing could go up there and just get right next to it and just unleash into that arc. And you're crit hunting the same as if you're using a machine gun or an SRM2. So, yeah, it works out pretty decently. And it's cool when it comes to it. You got those 10 heat sinks, and you got 10, you're typically probably firing 9 or 8, somewhere in there, depending on the arc of your, how you got your vehicle lined up. So most of the time, you may probably be missing out a side arc and maybe a front arc and a rear arc of not hitting a target. But, you can probably get 7 or 8 shots in. Then there's configuration F. All right, this one doubles the size of the infantry bay with a single ER medium laser and a turret. Comes in at 399 battle value. Okay, this one actually is kind of useful if you want to carry around some battle armor. So you're able to throw some battle armor into the bay, get them up there pretty quickly, and dump them out. And the ER medium laser, yeah, you got some decent range with it. Out to 12. And you're able to, a little bit of damage. And you're able to start dropping off or a lot of infantry. I don't know if I put all my eggs in one basket, but, you could run, up to 2 platoons of jump infantry or 2 platoons of straight leg infantry, and you're still wasting kind of space with those guys. Or you can run some battle armor. Works out pretty decently. So I can see the usefulness of getting your troops downrange, drop them off on a objective, and then you got that single medium laser to help out. Then you have configuration G. This one carries a light PPC. It comes at 474 battle value and an SRM2 in the turret. All right, so light PPC and the SRM, yeah, you're going to be able to do a little bit of damage out to range. And I'd almost be thinking about maybe running the SRM, once again, as Infernos. That way you can handle a lot of different targets. And then if a mech rolls up, you can say, hey, have a little bit extra heat. And if you can heat up a mech, because they may be running hot, and then pump it up even more, yeah, So that means there might be some weapon systems not coming your way the next turn. And they have to force them to either disengage for a while, shoot less, or just risk running the heat scale up even more by just continuing to fire on, which a lot of players have a tendency to do, I found in my experience over the years. They tend to ignore how the heat's going to affect them, and the next thing you know, like, oh, okay, I'm rolling on the ammo explosion table. Yeah. And my experience, it does go off once in a while, and nice spectacular explosion. All right, so that's the Badger. Useful vehicle, especially in the Succession Wars. It's a pretty standard, average, good vehicle for putting some damage downrange, carrying your infantry around if necessary. And then, you use them as a support vehicle, along with conjunction with other heavier vehicles or mechs. There. All right, so that's the Badger. Pretty decent. Hope you guys like it. Like and subscribe. Share with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one. Hellcrix out.